before Friday, because Friday is an awkward schedule, so I will probably just have a separate little fun activity. And our robotics people, who's in robotics? You guys won't be here Thursday and Friday?
I'm not. I'm coming on Thursday.
You're coming down Thursday? Are you going to be here Thursday?
I'd probably be here on Thursday or Friday, but
one of those days
one of
you'll
those
probably
days
be gone. Does anybody understand this? Do you understand why it's funny?
I do because I heard you explain it earlier.
Where is H to the Izzo from?
A Jay-Z song.
A Jay-Z song. So it's that song I guarantee is older than you are. So I'm not surprised you don't know, but I find that funny. So remember, when we work with exponents, we use the phrase to the to express what power it is raised to. So nerds like myself, when you hear rap songs and they're like H to the Izzo, and you're thinking, oh, well that's H to the power of Izzo? So that's just a funny interpretation of a Jay-Z song. So, let's see who's got their brain turned on. Who can remind me how we process through this first got it here, and why? What we do, and why we do it. So not just the what, but the why. Anish?
And then we cancel, so.
Why are we able to cancel things?
Because.
Like what is in our numerator? Let's start there.
M over 2 and then over 4.
With what?
M to the M squared to N 4.
And to the fourth power. So what does m squared and n to the fourth power, what does that mean? What is that communicating?
M times N. Wait, no, M times N. And then N times N.
Yeah, so those exponents are representing repeated multiplication. So I really have mm and n on the top. And that would be ridiculous. So that's why we say m squared n to the fourth. So what is this going to become then, Anish? And not surprisingly, I need to reorient this. So guys, try to solve the next couple problems on your own really quick.
N over M to the cube. M cubed.
Give me just a second to catch up to you, Anish. So you said this becomes n over n cubed. Sorry, and that little dot is nothing. It just showed up there. So my n's, I have one extra n on the top compared to what I have on the bottom. And I have 3 extra m's on bottom compared to what I have on top. Now, Dom, you're back there talking. I feel like there's another way that I can write this. There are always multiple ways to write things. Well, almost always multiple ways to write things in math. What if I told you to rewrite this not using a fraction? I only wanted to see multiplication. How could I write?
Like n times m times n times n.
But those m's are not in the numerator.
Oh, wait, wouldn't it be n to the negative third power?
Ooh, so this will become n times m to the negative third, because what the negative power is telling me is that is really a value from the denominator.
Wait, doesn't it still say division, but the m goes on top as a negative?
So this is really communicating n times 1 over m to the third. So it depends on how you think about it, but this is writing it in multiplication. This is writing it through division. They both say the same thing.
Yeah, because if it's just is that, then the n would be at the top.
Yep. By the way, your guys' tests will be completely done tomorrow. It looks like most of us are mastering it. I'm almost done grading them. I did a lot. Whatever you guys are doing is fine. I did a lot this weekend, which is why if you see me like moving weird or moving less today, my back hurts. It's okay. Getting old is getting old.
You're not old.
Well, getting old is getting old. Like when something is getting old, you're getting tired of it. So getting old is getting old. But you guys all look to be doing very well. I'm mainly just putting check marks on there, very small mistakes. So if you're dying to see it, I've given all the feedback. I just haven't gone back through and put the grades in my grade book and everything. So you'll get those back tomorrow. Think about this for a moment. -3 to a negative power. A negative number to a negative power. Now, to think about this, let's think about a couple different situations. What would, so off to the side somewhere, what about, and this is different, so I don't know how you want to like notate that we're looking at a different example. But what about negative 3 to a positive power? Well, especially if you take this in your calculator, you have to be very specific. I want to do that negative number squared. Well, what would negative 3 squared actually be telling me? And I should really use cards, especially since Aaron did this last week, and I want to check if people know what's going on.
Oh, Aaron gone.
Yes, he is back in school. Manasa, what is that telling me? Negative 3 squared.
Negative 3 times negative 3, which would be a positive 9, because the negatives times the negative is
Perfect. So what about positive 3 to a negative power? Oh, weird. Sean, what about negative 3 squared? Or sorry, 3 to the negative 2. My bad, we already did negative 3 squared. So what does the negative power communicate to me?
Good morning, Julian Cargiatis. Please stop by the office for a
Not
moment. Julian Cargiatis to the office,
So if you
please.
need to, flip
Thank
to
you.
the front, check what negative exponents do.
Oh, it was like the 0 point. It was talked by half.
Finish.
1 over 3 squared.
Guys, especially if you can't remember this, you need to have this written down. A negative power means that it is that number to that power, but in a denominator. So the power turns positive as soon as I put it in a denominator,
You could just write 9.
which then becomes 1/9. But we want to show this first. Don't cut out that middle step, because otherwise it's confusing how we get there. So we come back to this. What does negative 3 to the negative 2 tell me to do? Whitney?
She's not here.
I'm about to scan the room. Noah is here. You have a thought, Noah?
Because it would be positive because the 1 would be 1 over negative 3 to the second power.
So, hold on. So let's get that written down. So he said 1 over negative 3 to the second power.
And then negative 3 times itself is a positive 9, but it would be like 1 9. But that's positive.
Sorry, I need to reorient again. So, because we know negative 3 squared is the same thing as 3 squared, negative 3 to the negative 2 is the same as 3 to the negative 2.
Because they cancel.
In the same rule or same reason why 3 squared and negative 3 squared are the same thing. If I looked at just 3 squared,
Oh my god.
that's 9. Negative 3 squared is also 9, which is why 3 to the negative 2 or negative 3 to the negative 2 both end up being 1/9. A negative squared becomes a positive. This is still squaring, but it's squaring in the denominator. Any questions on that? Place all of these values where they belong. Either less than 1, equal to 1, or greater than 1. Did she have you guys start mouse last week?
Yeah.
I mean, we watched a bunch of videos.
Did you read any of it yet?
No.
Yeah.
I read some of it over the weekend.
Is it
Food her head. Hard to remember.
I mean, it's graphic novel. I like graphic novels. They read easily.
Yeah.
They're really fast reads
Mhm.
too.
like this. Like it was good at
It's
the
old.
beginning.
It's just old.
Are you gonna replace it?
Well, so I got a new computer, and I think the new computer and the old smartboard are just having some issues together.
You probably need a new smartboard then.
I would hope so.
I'm younger, she's older. My mom thinks that's cute.
All right, Ozzy, 2 to the third. Where would that go? Greater than 1. Why? What is 2 to the third? It's actually 8, so of course it's greater than 1. Dom, 3 to the second.
3 to the second, that's greater than 1.
What is it?
9.
Julian, 3 to the negative 2. What does that become? What does a negative power tell us to do?
Who's in the office?
I know. I'm checking what he knows because we got to get him caught up. Well, less than or greater than. So you know it's not 0 is what you're saying. Okay. Or sorry, well you know it's not 1 is what you're saying. So a negative power. Who can help Julian? What's a negative power do? Julian, pick somebody.
It turns the turns it to the fraction.
So what's 3 to the negative 2 become? Becomes, so Ozzy, keep helping. It becomes 1 over. Well, so first it's 1 over.
Yeah, 1 over 3.
So check up here if you need. Here's our 3 to the negative 2.
Yeah.
Julian, it becomes 1 over 3 squared. Because what the negative power actually tells me to do is take that value to make the power positive. I have to put it in a denominator. So that becomes 1 over 3 squared, which then is 1/9. Sorry, this is the last time I'm doing this. Then I'm just going to switch to a document camera. It is a camera for a document, just like what Mrs. Bordering has. So this becomes 1/9, and that would be less than 1. Ashley, 2 to the negative third. Yeah, because this becomes 1 over 2 to the third, which is 1/8. Samantha, what about 3 to the 0?
It would be equal to 1 because when you have a 0 power, it's just equal to 1.
And Jeremiah Smith, what about 2 to the 0?
1.
Any questions on any of these?
That's weird. Then 8 and then 1/8, 9.
Well, because all the numbers are doing the same thing. What happens when I have positive powers? What happens when I have negative powers? What happens when I have 0 powers? Yeah.
So, up there, if you were to do 3 to the second, it'd be 9. And then if you would do 3 to the negative second, it'd be 1/9. So, since they're just inverses, would that work with, like, every fraction? Like,
So if you have like 3 to the 4th,
would it be, like, and that, like, you would get, like, I'm going to say 12, and then you do 3
no,
to the...
let's not just say
Okay.
3 to the 4th would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27.
Times 3 is something. I don't know. 21 times 6 is
84,
80.
right?
Yeah, 84, and then would it be like
81.
1 over 8? Would it be 1 over 81?
Yep.
So would that work for everything?
Yep.
Oh,
They
okay.
are in. So a positive exponent and a negative exponent are inverses of each other. So the results are inverses of each other. Manish?
Hey, what's Rachel's number about square root?
We're not there. That's for irrational. That's for square roots in between perfect squares. We'll get there.
It's not perfect.
So, Moon, what about our got it here? 4 to the negative third.
It would be less than 1.
What does 4 to the negative third tell me to do? How do I make that positive exponent?
Well, if you make it a positive 1, then you do 4 times 4 times 4.
Right, but I can't just do 4 times 4 times 4.
So you would put the negative 3 because it turns into a fraction. You would put the 1 over it and then the 4. Yeah.
So this really becomes 1 64th.
Yeah.
offset.
Yep. 65.
So that would, of course, be less than 1. Questions, comments, concerns? How was your weekend?
It was great.
Great.
I had a swimming banquet yesterday.
So if you did not get the new notes yet, pick those up, please. If you did not get the new notes yet, pick those up, please. I'm going to stop the recording and start a new one.
No, I had